Okay, so there's something I wanted to talk about today. I got a good question from somebody who can't handle their own crap and came to me for answers. Like, so, man, you don't really listen anyway. Why ask a question? Why go bother to ask somebody else's opinion on something? If you're not really interested in their opinion, you want to battle argue and create fights every step of the way. Well, guess what, folks? I'm a Satanist. But more than that, if you've seen anything that I'm doing, on and off, not super frequent updates, but there's a reason why I do it. Then you've heard of Kevin's School for Evil and the slogan, think not in terms of good or evil, but works or didn't work. Now the question that I got was, why do I feel comfortable cursing people? Because I guess in their mind, that's all I do. And more particularly, why do I feel comfortable cursing family? That's a great question, Anonymous. Lol. I mean, there was a person's name attached, but because someone has to. Someone has to. Why do all of these videos where I let myself be in dangerous and potentially violent situations? Because someone has to bring awareness to it. Someone has to put people in their place. Someone who has to deliver justice, right? And I don't know about you guys, but my life matters to me. And if you don't put somebody in check, what do? Let's say you get out of it unscathed. They move on to the next person to continue the same kind of inappropriate behavior. To go burden somebody else. Now, a lot of you might be like, okay, cool, not my bag. I was strong enough to get through a situation. But you did nothing about it. And I'd like to think that action is necessary a lot of times. So when I curse, to clear this up, I curse in the form of lesson. So you can think of it as just a curse, but it's not just a curse. Because it will do nothing if you do nothing. If you continue to do dumb things, it will react in such a way to make you aware. A lot of times I do mirror spells. If you're screaming and shit, I hope people scream at you. So you know that's not exactly pleasant. And either you get your energy matched, and hopefully you might stop doing it. If you're into violence, if you think violence is cool, or you think you're special or strong or whatever because you can bully and intimidate people, dominating physically your way through life, then I'm going to kind of hope that you get hurt. They're not dead or nothing. First off, because death is the easy way out, and then you never have to face any lessons or learn. And plus, there's no suffering in death if I really thought you deserved a cosmic spanking for what you've done. But hurt. I hope that you have, again, the same thing happen to you. Oh, what? You think it's okay to be physical with somebody, okay? Well, I hope someone's physical with you. And just like you might have had the upper hand, and probably why you did that, because you can't win any argument or have a simple human conversation with logic and reason. So you had to force a victory, if you want to call it that, erroneously, with physical violence. Well, then I hope that other people, while you don't have the upper hand against their physical violence, hope you run into it. Hope you learn from it. I hope it happens to you. I hope all of it happens to you. That's why I curse. Now, we're out to do this in the form of a spell or whatever, or psychology, neurolinguistic programming, and other fun little things to just get a little bit into your head. What I'm doing is I'm hoping that you're held responsible. I'm holding you accountable personally. And since I have no fear of death or anything like that, it really doesn't matter what you do, and none of it will change my beliefs in sending you that message. All curses are done in the form of a lesson. If you learn, if you're kind, if you show remorse, maybe one of the times the curse is cast because I want you to kind of self-reflect, have some remorse, be aware of these things before you hurt yourself again, even more than the others, because clearly it's not working, and as soon as you feel it, no curse. So I don't consider it just a curse. I don't consider it bad. I don't consider it negative. I consider it like the invisible hand, a gentle nudge, a friendly piece of advice kind of thing. And I'm usually against unasked for advice, which is given to you all the time, creating these kind of scenarios anyway that you might need to defend yourself from. But I hold you accountable. That's why I curse, to answer you folks. I curse to hold you responsible. It's the same thing as your prayer. It's just using a different word. Has anybody ever prayed out there to their alleged good gods, and wished to be rescued from violent or angry or bad people harming you, but not wanting them dead? But has anybody ever actually wished I wish that person knew what they were doing? I wish they knew how they were talking to people hurts. I wish they had some kind of idea, because no matter how many times I've tried to explain it to them, civilize, talk to them, be their friend, forgive them, look the other way, turn the other cheek, get punched in the other jaw, they seem to repeat this cycle. So what is magic or prayer or whatever then, if not just kind of nudging someone along. They didn't want to do it the easy way. So that's exactly why I curse. I curse to teach a lesson, and there's no long-term side effects if you learn the lesson. Now, if you're relentless, maybe you like screaming all the time still. Maybe you like creating the problem where everybody blames everybody else. Maybe you set people up. Well, essentially, my favorite spell, I hope all of it happens to you. And if I can, in a clever way, I'll make it happen to you and add that physical in-person intervening, as it were. You know, the angels, as it were, interfere all the time. Wipe memories, you know, they doing alleged God's work, right? Against people's will to put people in their place on what their idea of good, right, and wrong is. It's the same thing here. And it's not just magic, because you can take that whole word out of the equation. I'll explain things to you the simple way. And it's the same thing through psychology, through knowing how to control your emotions, knowing how to control and master your own mind, lest others do it for you, ironically, right? So, I could teach you all a little thing or two. Now, I get interesting challenges left and right of people who, on occasion, you know, they think they're really better than you. They're narcissists, they're bullies, what have you. Well, guess what? I don't fear anything. And I know that's irrational. I don't have a rational sense of fear. So, like, what could you do? It's a really good question. I'm Kevin Chaos, the maker of videos like Dollar General Gangsters, where people are pulling guns and razor blades on me. You know, calling up hordes of African Americans to defend a woman with an improper face mask, mad at me for an improper face mask. No fear, no care, no consideration whatsoever. If you're coming from a place with your foot in your mouth, negativity, hate, stupidity, you might as well just fucking kill me. And for some reason, people won't do that. You know, Dollar General Gangster story, case in point. Guy comes up, I come outside because he's a little bit calmer than all of his other retard friends up there to stir violence for no reason. So I follow him outside, even though he's manic, but he's talking more kindly, you know. He's not the same retards as all these people trying to stir fights. So I come outside, I get a whole group of people pinning me up against the wall, and the young one that brought me out there says, "You don't care about your life, bro?" No, not really. I said, you know, in the grand scheme of things, my life generally doesn't matter. I don't really contribute to the whole of humanity in some great way. So, no. And it disarmed the guy completely. He didn't know what to do with that. Because the goal was to try to intimidate you, to make you feel some sort of way instead of thinking some sort of way to work around retards. Because that's exactly what it is. People are trained, especially white people, it would seem, to be timid, to let anybody with a loud voice or some kind of physical prowess just bombard their way through your life. And you turn away, and cowardice, at the very least, you're trained, oh, well, it's not polite to argue back. It's not polite to raise your voice back. Okay. Well, I'm going to anyway. You know, you don't want police, right? Okay, we can solve this your fake-ass violent way, or we can solve this your phony-ass conversation way that quickly gets you into your feelings, but not I. And it turns out that though you condition insults and words and racial slurs, we can do the same thing. But why does it hurt you more? And that's not toward a particular person or anything, or a particular gender, or a particular skin color. It's just interesting to me that people that do certain types of attacks, verbal attacks, physical attacks, it's interesting when people can't handle their medicine. They can't handle their own energy. They can't handle their own tactics, their own behaviors thrown back at them, which, to reiterate even further, see, there is a reason for all this, is exactly what the mirror is for. Face yourself. You don't have to beat yourself. You don't have to submit. You don't have to grow and become humble or nothing. It is your choice, and it's wise to do so. But if you don't, both through me and elsewhere, because you haven't learned this lesson, or you wouldn't be repeating the same thing that gets you into the same situations, it ain't the world's fault that not many people have called you out yet. People are trained to be in fear. Oh no, he's yelling. I should run away. He said he would kill me. He's calling the police. I was just not even an hour ago in a McDonald's where I sat down to eat my meal. And when I first walked through the door, I had a bag on me, okay, like a fanny pack, and I had a bag of groceries with me. Haven't even been in the door a minute, 40-something seconds, okay? And the lady says, if you don't buy something within 5 minutes, and it already starts off with a fucking foot in her mouth. That's what I'm talking about. How about you talk to someone, or are you buying something instead of treating them like a criminal? right? Or slacker, or like I'm here to loiter. I come here all the time, I buy something, you repeat the same thing all the time. Just because you're unaware and ignorant doesn't mean you know anything about the law. Now check out this sign, lady. I should have done it like this, I didn't. This sign on the wall says I'm allowed to come here every 2 hours for 30 minutes, but never mind that. What about becoming a paying customer? What about the harassment you just did coming up to me 3 times within those first couple minutes, right? This is a great way to get what you like, right? Not to mention that how my money works, I have to go through a couple steps to get it. So ultimately, one, no one can ever rob me, so that's fun. But you can up because I'm here to do what I need to do. And if you have a problem with it, that's fine. Now, she's telling me she already called the police, right? Again, within the first 5 minutes of me being in the building, for what? Arguing back, saying, give me a minute, I'm working on my funds. Let her be wrong then, right? But you know what I do, folks? I just start recording it. I egg the person on because they're already egged on by their own delusions, you know? And I have fun with it because I'll be damned. You think you're right, but you're not right. You're just louder than I am. You're angrier than I am. You're more hateful than I am. So go ahead and be right. I'm going to laugh and have fun at your expense because you are giving me a show. And not just that, but ultimately giving me segments to record and put online later and have fun with that. You literally fueling Kevin's School for Evil to help educate other people on how not to fall for this shit and get hurt by any of these public situations from other people who do know the game at least just enough to know sometimes when you yell and scream, people just submit immediately. Or you can just walk through people or stand in the middle of fucking doorways for some fake-ass game of dominance. There's lots of little things people do, and this show ultimately will eventually wake people up to all of them. I try to get as much footage as I do. Sometimes I just do rants on what happened and what we can learn from it. But the point is, if you start with your foot in your mouth, if you come to me with any kind of direction, suggestions, advice, and this is the way you're portraying it, why do I think you're a wise person to learn information to follow from? That's someone screaming. That's a retard. I mean, retard anyway. You're clearly slow on how things are done in a public place. Screaming might get the cops called on you. Not by me, not right now anyway, but maybe in certain circumstances because that's a fun card, isn't it? But screaming, okay. Demands, no. How about suggestions? How about some kindness? This is a place of fucking business. I could have went somewhere else and just canceled this out, but I stuck around deliberately to deal with the person, letting her know. After talking to 3 different employees, I had to explain my scenario, and guess what? That bitch didn't come out and bother me anymore. She came back out 2 more times and just gave me an evil fucking look because you know what? I was right and she was wrong. And I gave her a hard time for giving me a hard time. And I stayed longer than the 30 minutes. I didn't have to. I bought a coffee, and I would have bought more, but now I bought the smallest thing that I could just to sit here so that she could continue to, in error, not like me, feel superior, and what have you. And by the end of this journey, because this will be followed up on, she'll ultimately lose her job for acting fucking stupid. If you're going to manipulate someone, if you want something from them, whether it be money, time, or them to be apparently a different skin color, because I noticed she didn't bother the Asian guy right next to me who was there before I arrived and was there the entire time I was there, only eating outside food and drink, right? So perhaps it's a racial thing, because it is very popular these days to attack anybody with my pigment of skin. But guess what? It's not a successful thing. And if those police showed up, which they didn't, I waited around. I would have talked to them and they would have laughed in her fucking face because I became a paying customer and there was a sign to tell me I could sit there just fine, and it would have went right to the next higher up in the workplace and the higher up in the legal system, where they would have been like, okay, so what's the problem? He bought some fucking food and to drink, he's chilling. You came over, you're harassing this young man. Why? Okay, can you show me the paper that shows you this rule? Because he's just following. I mean, I can see it on the wall. The rules of your establishment here. So, learn, motherfuckers. Learn who you're playing games with, or just stop playing games. Because you might get away with a lot of things for a while, but in my experience, none of you really like your own medicine. You don't like it when people act like you because you're imperfect and you're not really wanting to grow. And it forces you to face yourself when you see yourself somewhere else, doesn't it? I think that's the real hard part. So, yes, I curse people to teach you. If conversations don't work and you're coming to me, I'm going to curse you. If that's what you want to fucking see it as. I'm going to nudge you along because you keep coming to me, sharing pain, sharing misfortune or whatever, and I'm going to have to deal with that again. You discharging your bullshit on me, so I'm going to have to just nudge you along faster. Yes, in the form of lesson. So, if you learn from whatever it is, even if you have me purely pissed, which is not the best time to cast cursive, though it is a good time in a way, because your emotions, your mind, heart, and soul might be in agreement there. If you don't want it to backfire, the best time to do it is sober-minded. That includes emotion. You know, because ultimately you're going to be attached to it then, your emotions and all that shit. So, you know, you're going to pay part of it. But if you do it in the form of a lesson, and literally everything's organized in such a way that this is only to do this, when this is done, it cancels it out, etc. It always makes them, in the long run, more positive, more happy, more successful. How can you call it a curse? You dig my logic? You digging some of these stories? I hope so, because I try to have fun with these logs and whatnot. My situation doesn't grant me a whole lot of internet time or video editing time, particularly lately, so I have to make somewhat more just talking to videos, but at least they serve a purpose. I'm working on some projects, some updates. I'm working on a stand-up. It's going to be fun, stupid and fun. You know, when I put together enough that I think it's good enough for 30 minutes or more material, I'll put it online like Comedy Central Presents kind of stuff. And you'll get Kevin Chaos Presents Kevin Chaos. The comedy special will be called Happiness. With the fact that I'm running into these dramatic situations in public again, that means I'm going to be doing more with Kevin's School for Evil. For now, they're talkative clips like this, but in the future, I'm going to put them all together. Remind me if I forget, but I still have to put together all the pieces to She Called Me a Karen, I Called Her a Terrorist video with Stephanie with 2 E's. The Veo cab driver that was drinking and driving and decided to go on like a lunatic rampage. And I decided to entertain it and have fun with it. Down to her praying and rebuking me in the name of Jesus. And you know how much fun I have with those kind of people. What, you go for fit, you're evil and angry and hateful, and then now all of a sudden you got to back the fuck out and protect yourself because it turns out you're not as bad as you fucking thought? I do have fun with those people. So, anyway, much love to you guys. Peace be with those who wish peace, mind you. War be with those who wish war, though, of course. Because after all, whether it really exists or not, which I don't believe it does, I'd like to believe that you have the free will to choose whatever path you want, even a path I wouldn't choose. So if you don't want success, that's okay. If you don't want happiness, that's okay. If you don't want peace, that's okay. Although I'd prefer for you to have those things, and I won't have you share anything that isn't those things with me without making you aware of them. Peace be with those who wish for peace. But maybe you'll get more out of war. Maybe you enjoy that more. And on that note, hello, Satan. May you enjoy the war. Up until that point, you find the guy who's better at it than you, so you still end up choosing peace. I'm Kevin Chaos. I love you all. Toodles.